let's get into the game. A best of 7 to determine our winner here for CECC Rocket League. Let's get it started.
Arlington, want to hear you get loud because these players certainly deserve it. There's so much going on for these players internally. We talked to both of them before this series when they're warming up in the pit. They were not nervous. They were confident. They were feeling like it is their day. But of course, only one team can come out, and really, game one is where we set the pace. Who's going to be coming out with their first strike? Apparently, not Concord. The first real chance is not going to have any contact.
Patty going to try to keep this one close. The ceiling he goes. No pass out center, and actually a double commit out of 5-up. We talked about this yesterday. A team that likes to get very in your face, very aggressive on almost every single play. They need to be careful doing that against Concord. This is a team that are not only also as fast, but also as physical. So if you do overexert yourself for a moment, there's a good chance your backline is just going to get demolished, sent to the shadow realm, and all of a sudden an open net they can easily score upon. I think that is probably going to be the only easy moments throughout this series, though. Both these teams are going to play excellent defense, excellent offense, and really excellent mechanics as well. Crispy not going to find the double touch there, but I like to see the attempts early.
One player for sure, any fan of Concord or CRL knows Helix is a name we're going to bring up a lot on Concord. He is the only non-pro coming out of this Concord roster, but he had arguably the MVP performance of the fall championship in CRL. He had played out of his mind. Every player we talked to said that if he does that again, Concord are impossible to beat, and maybe this is another iteration he can do on land to cap off the 24-25 school year, and maybe he can do it because the defender is simply not ready.
Patty just not aware of this shot coming in here, and I think he just kind of trusted in 5-up and Bullseye to get the pass out. He has a full tank of boost, but as soon as he starts moving downfield, you can see Helix turn, immediately put the shot on target, and the first goal of the series is going to go to Concord.
It's a little bit of an awkward one. Honestly, I wonder if Patty thought that Helix had a bit fewer boost in the tank than he actually did. Either way, you can't have that hesitation because certainly it's going to go right in your net if you do. That's fine. Akron can just go back to work, maybe with a steal, as Helix has to immediately 180 and take that one to the side wall. Deflection by 5-up means a back pass is open, but only for a brief window, which will shut close. Another attempt at a clear, but a 50 keeps things interesting out of the corner.
Unfortunately, though, Akron starting to double commit in some places that I would not have anticipated. Yesterday, they were really good about sending one man at a time upfield to kind of be the forefront to the offense, get it ignited, get it started. And here, we're not really seeing that. They feel a little bit over-eager, if you will, as yet another double commit comes through. This one might actually work out for them if the shot had been on target, off the bar and out, and they're going to want it back, and they might just get it. The 50s just not going away, though. Somehow Concord recover and make the save necessary.
That ball is not in until 100% of it crosses the line. The in and out save from Crispy to keep this one at 1-0. Spectacular so far from Concord, but it's far from over. Zero boost and a light catch from Crispy with some interference. A classic Akron tactic on the backboard, double commit, still in Concord possession after somehow a battering of chances coming through for the Zips.
They still can't get off the half, though, right now. Akron just continuing to put pressure up against this Concord team, but that might alleviate at least a little bit of it. A demo in the corner means that now Bullseye and Patty, by their lonesomes, have to try and keep this going. They cannot. He looks to the backboard, potentially to the back of the net, if not for the touch from 5-up. We'll get another one as well off the ceiling, putting pressure back and forth here. It's a tennis match as both teams just continue to ricochet this ball downfield on either end. Flip resets trying to change that up, but no such luck as not a shot found as we head into our final 2 minutes.
5-up has to get a light touch on it. He does not, but that's fine. Shot is off target. All three players for the Zips clustered around that near post, which means nobody's marking Helix. He's going to be patient, and he's going to be the sniper of that bottom 90.
I know we don't want to talk about Helix too much because we already had this narrative way back in fall when we talked about him a ton during the CRL championship, but this is kind of the player you have to watch for this exact reason. He steps up when the pressure is on him. Some players crumble underneath it. Helix, he turns into a diamond. 2-0, hit the 2 goals for Concord, both coming off the back of their singular U.S. player. Let's see if they can keep this up as we head into the final 90.
Samas trying to slow that one down, and tactically so. Concord very good at playing their angles, and most importantly, trying to take away options. Bullseye gets a drop down. He doesn't even need to touch it. The tactical whiff into the first goal.
I like the fake there. You know that if they had the chance, it's just faking getting spammed right now on Quick Chat over and over again. Crispy, though, I'm not sure if he actually did get faked out on that play, or if he just missed the ball. I think he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, as he knows that there could be the ricochet there, the redirect that'll go on target. He knows it could also just bounce on target. As he tries to kind of play both, he plays neither, and unfortunately, that's going to give up the first goal to Akron. But they still need another just to see an overtime, and they also need to prevent Crispy from flip resetting into Helix. Perfect pass, perfect shot. Helix got a hat trick.
Yes, sir. First game, we're wondering, hey, is he going to be on? Well, he's certainly taking the advantageous route towards these goals. It's always just lingering in front of the net, being able to be delivered something, but you still have to beat out that defender. Very good job by Helix to not shy away. The last thing you want to do against Akron is play too passive. That's exactly what they took advantage of against Northwood. Concord has watched the VOD, and they've taken their notes.
Done a great job here of studying up upon their opponents. And again, this is a team that Concord said they were not all too fearful of, as Helix scores his 4th goal now of the game. Again, they really said that St. Clair was the only threat. They've taken them down, and they might take down Akron if they keep playing like this.
We're talking to Concord in the pit, not to direct quote, but they were more or less saying this is a matchup we feel confident about, despite the fact that we did mention Concord has won most of their engagements with Akron except for Kentucky Bluegrass Boost Battle on land. So they're saying, well, this might be a land, but I don't know if it's the same. I think we have the hard counter. We were really only worried about 1, maybe 2 teams, and now that they're out of the way, now we just got to trust in the game plan and also trust in Helix and Zamas to get those finishes. Zamas will not be able to get it, so therefore back around we go with Crispy just trying to preserve this lead in the final minute.
He's trying to keep this one going, but unfortunately the pressure going to be put against him until Patty unfortunately backflips. That means Zamas with a flip reset in the back could try and take a shot, but not enough boost to reach that ball, so instead they'll just put it into offense and try to maybe keep it there. 30 seconds to play. That's an awkward miss from Helix, but he's backed up by his teammate. Bullseye can't quite read the play. Off the sidewall, no contact, into the backboard it goes as Patty tries to get something started. He's got the boost to work with, but doesn't have that great of a 50, so Bullseye has to take over. Can he maybe do something with this one? Again, another 50 as Samas meets him on the ceiling, and Helix meets him on the follow-up. Maybe not. No contact found, but they've done the job. Wasted enough time, and even if we get a goal here for Akron, which they will not, it is a victory here for Concord early. 4-1, a very strong start for this West Virginian team.
Helix is not looking weak at all. Now we have to see if the Zips are strong enough to fight back and go blow for blow. Maybe it's with Patty through the air. Helix, nice contest and safely to the corner.
I do think it is going to be Patty that's got to get the offense started. We talked about this yesterday. He had 4 goals for the first 2 games, and then as soon as he took his foot off the gas and started to play more of an assist role, he got a playmaker, 3 assists in the 3rd game. We need to see that version of Patty today. If we do not, this is going to be a rough task here for Concord. We've talked about it many a times in many different places, but 5-Up is a consistent player. We expect him to consistently play well, but the problem is occasionally Patty and Bullseye do kind of fall underneath the pressure. They don't play poorly necessarily, but if they are not at 100%, even at, let's say, 90, 95%, that can still not be enough to beat a team like Concord. Again, fall CRL champions. They are already putting Akron to the test here, as with 50 seconds gone in our 2nd game, it is just demo after demo, shot after shot.
Tasting its own medicine on the demo play, and it always goes down bitter if you're getting demoed, especially when it's a cycle demo. It's like they're playing Heat Seeker, but the only Heat Seeker is this ball towards the net. They're consistently on target. There's another one. Helix has to back up from this one, and another deflection should be Bullseye's, but he can't even control it. It's just another idle roll to the sidewall.
Start to pay attention to the boost totals here. Right now, they seem relatively calm, but Akron, the more and more that they have to go for these challenges on the ceiling, on the sidewall, they're going to start to get starved out. This is the only way they prevent that, by going downfield, grabbing boost when they can, and making very quick transitions. Samas, though, might punish them for maybe pushing too far downfield as he tries for a double touch off the backboard to no avail. Helix next in line, and he's going to start headhunting. 5-Up aware of it, so he will bail out Bullseye and at least keep the ball away for now. But again, it's the same sort of cycle. Akron getting pushed into their half, low on boost, and Concord just unrelenting with shot after shot, pressure after pressure play. Eventually, something's got to give.
That might be it. Oh, he got the reset on the 50. Well, very well done by Samas, but it only goes so far. At the very least, Akron being trapped in this corner. They cannot get it out, especially when there's a whiff. Back post tap into Bullseye. 5-Up, no 50. A deflection over the backboard. That should be wide open for Helix on the no contest. And yet Bullseye uses that third eye, sees into the future, and gets a save, followed up by another.
The one thing I will give credit to for Akron here is that despite having very low boost totals at many moments in this game, they are still extremely competent on defense. It's a team that has great reads off the backboard, inside of net, really doesn't matter where. They just know where to be at the right time. The problem is, when you have a passing play like that precise in front of net, there's no way you're stopping it.
Crispy's not rotating out because he hears the call out. Samas to say, I'm just going to tap this one. I don't know if the defender's ready for it, and that is exactly why. The recovery memory was there, but not on the deflection to further that one into the net. Concord taking first goal, and again, they're starting to cruise. This is where Akron needs to answer back. Maybe right here, difficult read, but Smas makes it look so easy.
Great catch from Bullseye, but they still need to get this goal as quickly as possible to try and stop the momentum. Right now, scoreline 5-1 goal differential in favor of Concord, and it's not just been the goals that they are scoring, it's been the ways that they've been assisting each other. I want to see who gets the assist on this one. It's Helix. It's actually a bit unique. It's been Crispy who's been the playmaker, but again, everyone getting involved.
He's also staying close to it. He also understands that a lot of what Northwood was trying to do last game or last series in the semifinal when Akron defeated them on broadcast was taking awkward 50s, trying to slow the play down, but Concord instead saying, I'm going to advance this downfield, and if you want to play for that angle, I'm going to play the hard read. You see Akron not necessarily crumble into that pressure, not panic, but they're forced into a certain engagement that they cannot win, and Concord is following it up supremely well. Something Akron's trying to get going as they had an electric offense in the semifinal, but it is all but dissipated under the weight of these counterattacks.
The counterattacks are not only clean, but it's every individual carrying what they need to do here. This is great from Smas. Perfect first catch, and then immediately baits out the challenge and flicks it straight around them. Again, this is precision that only players of this level can pull off, and they're pulling it off over and over and over and over again. That is 7 goals through just about 8 minutes of play. Unbelievable start here for Concord, and I do not think they are done yet.
Akron's also a team we've talked about. They can peak, and Patty and Bullseye, obviously great players. They were playing out of their minds in their series that they played on Saturday, but can you keep it up against the best of the best, and especially when the flow state is getting closer and closer to being achieved from Concord if they're not already in it? So as we see them continue, they can't continue missing these aerials, and they have to make sure they take advantage of one-on-ones like this. 5 up. Does it himself.
Finally, they get back on the board. That's only their second goal of the series, but it could not have come at a better time. And again, it's similar sort of play style on both ends. The teams are breaking out, finding these individual moments where they can just sort of dive at net and get these one-on-one engagements, because as we've mentioned multiple times, they are all more than capable of winning in a 1v1 environment. The problem, though, is I think that goal is going to go right back for Concord, and indeed it will. It was a little bit awkward. The first shot goes off target, but all of Akron not prepared for the follow-up.
We said respect on this one. Crispy actually going for the Spanish. He actually misses the first player, almost gets the second, but it's enough to make Patty dive into the goal, and he can't recover to get that save. He is just a pixel or two below it. Concord continuing to roll that 4-1. Akron gets a brief, shining moment on offense, but beyond that, not much, even including this one. Crispy going backwards, just enough to touch it, and again, and a 50 into deflection all the way down, if but a little bit too slow.
That is my very genuine reaction to watching what could have been the first own goal of the series, and honestly would have broke my heart and probably also broken the spirits of Akron. Again, they are still just trying to rally themselves to get back into the series. This is the second game in a row in which they've conceded 4 goals. They've only scored 1 in both of them. Can they find a second? No. Bullseye's challenge a bit too late, and the defense is back and prepared for it. Are they prepared for Patty? Absolutely. Helix just not missing a single challenge. He's almost outdone the entire team, and he still might. He's going for challenges. He's looking for the pass. It will be deflected out, but we continue to mention the step up from this player. He'll need to do it again, and he will. A save on the other end after leading his team into an offense.
The spacing from Concord is unreal in these defenses. Pay attention to when these shots come in from Akron. They're not poorly placed. It is towards the near post or the back post. It's toward the angles that should work on concept, but it seems like Concord has it covered. They have someone on ball. They have someone covering the only gap in the net. Because of that, Akron has to be able to really wallop these shots, make the save a bit more difficult, and they haven't really been able to throughout game 1 and now game 2. Halfway to a sweep is Concord University, and they're looking to do damage because right now it's looking like they brought a sledgehammer.
Unfortunately for Akron, despite the fact that they might know this playbook, they might have actually written many of the chapters, doesn't mean that they aren't susceptible to it. Game number 3, we mentioned this yesterday with the series that we had from Akron where we mentioned, yeah, if you go down here, I don't think this series is even comebackable. I'm going to now state the exact same thing in reverse here. Akron, do not give up this game. A best-of-7 reverse sweep. Again, it is possible, as I continue to reiterate, but I don't know if we've ever even seen one on land at CECC.
Well, last year's grand final was one of the all-time classics in Collegiate Rocket League history, and this one could live up to that if we have to go there. But I'd like to at least keep the option open for Akron and keep the window open, maybe like this one, because Samas going to go by it, and which means Patty, playing patiently, gets his first.
This is the Patty we need to see. No fear in the challenges. Yesterday was mostly on the ceiling. Here, it's out in midfield. Recognizes the awkward touch from Samas, does not think twice, and immediately bangs it on target. The first lead of the series for Akron. Now the question is, can they hold it for another 4.5 minutes?
That's the terrifying part of getting a goal early. It kind of gets you to relax, but then you realize, man, we have the rest of the game to play. Maybe after a dunk like that, could be a little bit different. Soft touch into 5-up, but it looks like Helix is not going to be bluffing at all. He is going to full challenge into everything. At least 5-up does get that boost steal, so Akron has a chance to move forward, but not for Helix being immediately there.
That's what I want to see, though. Again, more challenges on the ceiling without hesitation. That's what we need to see out of Akron, but it would have been even better if they'd been able to find a way out of the half. 5-up, he will try, but he will pay for it with his car's life. As he's sent to the Shadow Realm, the ball is sent right back into the blue half. Akron, keep this one close, and Patty to try and take over. The shot does go on target, but Bullseye back, and Patty to the ceiling immediately. Again, we need this man coming to life. If you are an Akron fan, you got to get loud. You need Patty playing like this.
And you can see, actually, the spacing from Akron, they're starting to sit back a little bit. You're seeing the first touch come through from Concord, but because Akron knows it's not going to be a heavy one, they can sit and then be able to react, but no one can react to this one. I think a demo, and through the smoke screen, they missed the contact, but 5-up will not miss this one. Another deflection for Akron to take us down the sideline as Crispy and Samas doing a lot of midfield work this time around.
They're trying to, but unfortunately maybe not as successful out of midfield due to the constant challenges that Akron are starting to throw at them. It's made a huge difference in this game. As you can see, the pressure not just going against Akron and their net, it is starting to also go against Concord, and it's starting to put shots in some awkward places. The challenge on the ceiling just barely ricocheting off target. Even if there were defenders back, it was going to be a hard save, and this one might be as well. Samas got to be careful with this, and he will, but to the backboard it goes, and Bullseye to go headhunting. Patty, if he had a little more boost, might have been able to beat the defender, but it's still more offense for Akron.
Ooh, Bullseye, luckily, he is not getting caught out on this one. Patty was coming back, but I don't know if he would have had it if it was straight down the middle. Speaking of, Crispy's going to be thinking about this one. He will back off and play that first touch into the ceiling, which nobody from Akron is ready for except for Bullseye. Understands the back post was open, and so he shuts that door.
Bullseye faking it out for his teammate. Clever play from him and 5-up. It still will not be enough to get past the Concord defender, but this has definitely been the best game we have seen from Akron for a number of reasons. But the biggest thing is they're just tricking the defense. They don't know what to do. The shot might be off target, but these are the plays you need to pull out against Concord. Somebody who can make a save from pretty much anywhere, but when they don't even know where the save is going to be required, it's a bit more difficult.
A lot of car-and-car violence on this one from Akron's side. I'm seeing a lot of demos through the Concord defensive rotation, and right now it's relying on plays like this to buy time and be able to actually afford some pressure on offense. But the thing is, it gets sent right back into Bullseye, catching it with a reset. Deflection to the corner means that Patty, trying to have it all, gets the boost steal, or rather, just got beaten out for it. So instead, a little bit of a hamperage on that last play, which means you can take it back and hopefully not get the worst pinch possible back into the midfield, thankfully for them.
I honestly thought they were going to try and team pinch that one across the pitch. Not a bad idea, but again, also a risky play, and I do think that we've already seen a good level of risk from Akron here. They don't need to overdo it, because if they do, they might give up a goal with only 75 to go. It is still only a 1-0 ball game, so despite the fact that Concord have blown them out of the water in the last two, Akron's victory here would be from narrow margins, and from narrowly missing the ball like that. Patty gonna have to be bailed out by Bullseye, and he will again. Despite the little bit of awkwardness on defense, Akron are still just challenging everything with little hesitation, if none at all.
Really solid touch by Helix, putting that one off the ceiling. It keeps it close to him, despite having to hit that one with a flip, and because of that, Akron didn't get the immediate clear, which means now refueled up, they can go for the passing play. Well aware is Bullseye, jumping in front of that one, and now the handoff with low boost. Concord, despite all of the boost struggles they've had in the midfield, they're still aggressive, understanding if Akron's going to hesitate even for a second, they need to be on that read.
To be fair, it's also switching things up because Akron no longer struggling on boost on defense. They do have a couple occasional moments where they're maybe a little bit low, but for the most part, they're a lot more in control on defense. It's a lot less panic. It's a lot less just sort of, what do we do to escape? They are escaping on repeat, and although they are not getting a ton of with goals. They are getting shots that put pressure against Concord and do not let them out of their half. They've got one more chance to get out of their half, and they're going to have to make it all the way downfield. Samas looking to get it to Crispy, but 5 up. Other ideas as he banks to midfield. Is anybody prepared to keep it up? Helix barely, but low boost totals. A passing play required. To the backboard it goes, and Bullseye, maybe a bit too much power, spikes it to the ceiling, but 5 up there to not kill the play. This one's still going. They're keeping it up. Helix, one more pop, but this one to the ceiling, and 5 up to finally spike it down. Akron will defeat their demons. A complete change up in game 3 to cut the lead in half. We were facing off Akron, who are finally starting to figure it out.
Biggest thing about between game adjustments is that both teams are eligible for them. Concord understands that that wasn't necessarily a blowout victory like the ones that they have been able to claim, but you do not want a rerun of that last episode. And right off the rip, they have a decent chance. Samas not trusting that the save will be enough. He's just going to lob it up and over and then send the house. How about the third coming in with a lead blocker to boot?
You could see everything falling apart from the initial double commit right there. 5 up and Patty both go up for it. Bullseye with quite literally nothing in the tank is like, all right, you know what? Good luck to me. And he's going to need more than luck. He's going to need a save. He does not find it. And Concord start the same way as they did in games 1 and 2 with an early goal within 30 seconds.
It's been dramatic this series, but not in terms of comeback. If you score first, you win this game in this grand final. And that is a pattern Akron trying to break. Maybe it could be with 5 up, but typically, even though he leads the charge, Concord not worried about it. You got to be worried about Samas. The double tap not going to work out for him, but you know the threat is always lingering.
Bullseye, full tank of boost and a good 50. What can he do with it, and what can Akron do to get a goal back? Again, Patty, I'm not even going to call it no fear, no hesitation. It's just the Patty challenge at this point.
If you challenge that early, it has to be immediate. That is why it doesn't work out. Crispy is going for this because all he sees is the ball cam, a.k.a. the sky. And therefore, if Patty turns in place, he's going to be from the blind side. He can get a touch, and even better, a heavy deflection right on in. They all count the same, even if they're a bit more ugly than usual. Akron, therefore, able to maybe get off the kickoff, but unfortunately, a missed touch into the long clear. Not what they had in mind, as Samas almost quick enough to beat out 2.
Unfortunately, a demo downfield has now left Akron in a bit of an awkward place here. Low on boost and not really many options to try and escape with. You see the singular challenge to the ceiling from Patty, the only player with anything in his tank, and now 5 up on 0, has to try and contend. The ceiling they go. Crispy looking for the fake out. He won't find it, but he will find yet another double commit from Akron. Old habits die hard, and I'm going to hope that Akron recognize that they cannot fall back into said old habits, because if they do, it's going to be this type of offense for the next 3.5 minutes. Concord putting on the clamps. The pressure here just unrelenting, and 5 up going to try to alleviate it with a long ball to the backboard.
Keep looking at the bottom and left and right corners as the boost totals, because a couple times now when both teams are really getting going on offense, their opponents are basically left with 30 in the tank at maximum. If you get 100, that is a blessing, but you got to use it well. That air dribble, not a premium example. Pass middle, Bullseye's waiting for it. That should be cut around, and a 50 as well, which means Samas has to hold this one up, and of course he does. His first touch all grand finals and really all tournament wide when we've been watching in the pit has been so incredibly good. It buys so much time and trust in your teammates.
You kind of need to buy that time. Again, both of these teams like to play physical, so often you are going to have demos that start to break up rotations, break up the back line, and in those moments you need to make sure you are buying time for your teammates to get into position, to grab some boost, and to not make mistakes on defense. If I'm not mistaken, that's a team bump out at midfield.
I was not sure where the defense was. The binoculars are out, but I don't think you can see anything except for teammate on teammate violence. Sometimes you just want to dap up a teammate, but you can't do it in the middle of the game, especially with your front bumper to the T-bone side of their car. And therefore, it's an accident. It's awkward goals, but it all comes from Akron being in the right position, forcing awkward rotations, and sometimes, even at the highest level in comms, you're going to have two players thinking they have the best angle, and they're both going to be wrong.
I'm going to be real. That's a bit of an odd play for a number of reasons. Obviously, because of the fact that they bumped into each other, and they weren't intending to do that. But also because we've often talked about this. Concord, not just a good team, but a consistent team that doesn't usually crumble under pressure. They're a team that keep their rotations even when the going gets tough. The fact that they are now bumping each other across the pitch, I'm flabbergasted by what I am witnessing.
Not necessarily nerves, but I think once you start to fall behind in a game, you want to get back into it. And some of it is just saying, well, we need to play quick. And then if you're not on the same page about who needs to go for what, it's great to cut in the middle. We actually see exactly why with Patty's first goal in this game. The problem is you need to be able to organize. You need to be able to say, hey, take this one after I spike it to the ceiling, or maybe do it yourself. The dunk sets up Samas 2-2.
There we go, Concord. That's what we need to see. Great plays out of Helix and just unbelievable confidence. You got to feel for 5-Up. He has just a little bit more boost. He can probably pinch that off the top bar and at least clear it far enough away that somebody can't immediately follow up. But when it's just the lightest touch just on the line, that's going to be more than enough to find a goal for Samas and the tie up for Concord, but only momentarily.
And it's all too familiar. Patty, where are you going? That's not the ball. It's okay, because I know exactly what I'm trying to hit. Bang, Helix set into the next zip code. And unfortunately, he's going to have to find a ride back to the Esports Arena and ready up for another kickoff. A brutal way to give up your equalizer. Akron back in the driver's seat with under 2 to go.
This is more what we were expecting from this series. Just constant goals back and forth from both teams. It's just left hook for right hook, knockout blow for knockout blow, as both teams are finding excellence in their goals. This is maybe one of the weirdest shots I've ever seen, but it forces a double commit that somehow Helix recovers from. All right, again, they're both playing to their textbooks here. It's physicality from Akron as they continue to force awkwardness, and it's Helix stepping up like we've never seen from a third in the history of CRL.
And also 5-Up also being that lead striker. He's gotten a couple on target that have barely been saved away. That one on a breakaway, if that was just a little closer on the outlet pass, could have been goal number 4. But Akron will gladly take a lead. They'll gladly build from it. Demo, no one there. Everyone's caught in the midfield, which means you got to get back. Samas from an angle does not have it. Therefore, Crispy tried his luck. How about a reset? No double. Patty sends that swatted away.
50 seconds to play. Concord still do have the time, but unfortunately, if they concede here, it's definitely not going to be enough. To the corner it goes. 5-Up, great bump to keep Samas off the ball, and Bullseye to get the flip and almost force the own goal. Never mind, 5-Up to finish it off as chaos erupts on the Concord line.
Hey, if Helix can do it, so can Akron. Bullseye just playing out of nowhere. 5-Up saying, I know it's going to be somewhere here. Let's just trust it will get shoved through. 4-2 for Akron. A turnaround from the Zips as they're trying to close this one out, but how does the kickoff work?
I gotta say, we talked about history repeats itself so many times on the desk here, on cast, literally everywhere. This is a mirror of what we saw last year. 2 games with a favorite coming in, dominating, and then immediately Akron not just responding, they are starting to freestyle.
And look at everybody on Concord trying to gravitate across the field. They don't have that boost. They realize that back post is wide open. Bullseye knows it. That's why he's there. Easy goal on the tap in, beating both defenders, and that is the security goal that they need. Unless we see utter collapse on these kickoffs, it looks like Concord has a lot of talking to do between this game and the next, as Akron truly have found their flavor. And I think at Concord, in the back of their mind, saying, this is exactly what our worst fear was playing this squad.
That is Akron's worst fear for sure. Actually, it would have been worse had they actually had it gone into their own net. But to be honest, that's got to hurt for Concord. You're going, even when they make a mistake and basically shoot on their own net, they're still not conceding. This has been a complete turnaround. Akron, through the first 2 games, conceded 8 goals. After that, they conceded 2 and then scored 6. 2-2. We are guaranteed a game 6. I'd love to get to 7, but let's find out who gets the series point first.
And who else is going to get that first goal? Bullseye, love that build-up, especially when that first defender bites the dust on that aerial, as we see go back in with Patty. But for the most part, that first plan was really the primary and only plan. Therefore, Concord able to take it forward and desperately wants to get forward on offense. It's a strange phenomenon to be scoring basically at will in the beginning and then suddenly realize, I'm not entirely sure how we even get these shots through.
They're trying right now. Maybe it comes to the sidewall and Helix with a double to the backboard. Unfortunately, he's going to be met with a player, and Crispy will now have to take over. To the ceiling he goes, and 5-Up will meet him there. And again, this has become a more and more staple part of the play here for Akron as they consistently make these challenges on the ceiling. And initially, it was just Patty. Now it's going to have to require everybody, because if you miss the challenge on the ceiling, this is what Samas does.
Several segments of every air dribble. First touch, second touch, and then final improvisations if you need be. Samas doesn't get the boost he needs. He doesn't have the angle he needs. He doesn't have the speed he needs, but he knows that one player's in the back post, one player's in the sidewall. If he shoots it low, maybe it is enough for Urvs to be that. Therefore, Akron has to shake their head and say, well, we covered almost everything, but almost is never enough.
Every once in a while, that pinch works out. I feel like it's often the plan B that you do see from players when it comes to air dribbles, but oftentimes it's, I'd say, lackluster, if you will. There's not enough power behind it. There's not enough precision behind it. There's just not enough anything. Unfortunately for Akron, the one time that it does connect as it intends to, it's going to go straight into their net and put them down 1-0 with just about a minute gone. They've got time to find a response, but they do need to break out of their half, and I think this might be the first chance, but will they have boost for it? Bullseye does pick up that midfield, and a little bit of trickery from Concord is going to leave them without any as two players commit to the ceiling, and neither one of them really able to charge into an offense. To the backboard, it attempts to go, but Samas up early, and Patty to challenge in the corner. Bullseye to challenge afterwards. Everything going weird on the line. Not really sure what happened, but I can guarantee one thing. It's an Akron goal.
Patty tried to get a soft touch on that, and because he didn't, I think everyone trusted he would, so they drove past the read. He's able to recover and then somehow actually assist his own shot on this one. Getting that one through. A lot of confusion on the line, but that's why you have to expect the unexpected in these games. You respect your opponents, but they are capable of getting a slight mistouch and completely bamboozling you.
We talked about this yesterday, about how Patty really started the series off so strong, and that's what led them to their victory. The first two games, Patty was relatively quiet. One goal in 2 games. That is not what we expect from him in terms of production, as Bullseye shows his involvement in the production with a fantastic save on the line. Since then, Patty has had a goal per game. That is a huge difference for a player like that needs confidence and needs ways to prove his scoring abilities. Let's see if we can do that here. Flick up high over one. Not around another, though, as another player challenges, and now Bullseye in his back line has to make a challenge as well. Trickery from Concord, maybe a fake, maybe a miss. Who knows what it is? It's an opportunity lost as Bullseye can clear this out to Patty, and 5 up to try and help him out, but this one just continues to ping pong back and forth.
Especially as we go on and on in this game, crossing halftime with an even score line. It's going to be hard to resist temptation on these counterattacks. You want to get up so quickly, but on that last play, Akron moved all 3 up. It got deflected back, and there was no one there for a brief second. That's how you give up easy goals, and so therefore, trying to meter out that double-edged sword of aggression is going to be the primary target for both of these squads. Interesting to see how both of them, almost in real time, you can tell based on how far they pull back, realize that they cannot get greedy.
They can't get greedy, and that's honestly, I think, a good thing that they need to not only keep in their minds, but I think it's a good thing for their play overall. The best way that these two teams play is when all 3 of their players are getting involved. We mentioned it in Game 2 with every player getting involved for Concord. We mentioned in the last one with Akron, everybody getting at least a goal and an assist. They need to make sure they are playing as a well-oiled machine. This is not a league like it was a couple years ago, where one singular player can carry the team to victory and just sort of show them the spotlight. This has to make all 3 players playing at their most excellent, and they are doing that right now. If they play this way for another 100 seconds, we move to our first overtime of the series. And Taco, I'm not going to lie, I know we're not supposed to be biased, but I'm kind of rooting for that.
I just want the entertainment. That's all I'm really here for, and I'm also here for making sure you recover on these long, long clears. Patty will do so and beat out number 1, the 50 to the backside. 5 up thinks about it, but Samas knows that. It's why he's trying to take away that sideline, and he does well enough, but maybe not to stop 5 up. He was lingering there, and no shot available as 2 players in the near post will clearly say absolutely not to that.
I wanted that redirect so badly, man. Would have probably been the goal of the series so far, but there's still plenty of time for them to score that here in our final minute. Samas on the sidewall, full tank of boost and space to work with. What is he going to do? Gets around 1, gets around 2, only has 5 up the 50. Will not go to a teammate. Bullseye the first one to it, and then to it again. And then maybe to it again as he takes it through the corner, then out center, looks for the 50 and almost outdid the entire team just by himself.
We saw some awkward goals in the Northwood series off these type of deflections, and it was almost Akron the victim, dodging that demo into the team pinch. Samas does not have it. 5 up does have the boost. Who's lingering in the middle? No one, because Helix is making sure that's the only place he expects 5 up to put that one. And now he's trying to put it on a platter for Crispy. Coming in a little bit late. Patty, quick enough to read. Starting to get down to crunch time. No missed challenges here. You have to be guaranteed.
It was almost a missed challenge, but he does make it awkward enough to where Patty can meet them on the ceiling. Again, we've talked about it. He's doing that more and more, but he's not missing it when he does that, and that's a huge thing for Akron, as now they've even forced a double commit on the line, meaning low boost for almost everybody on Concord, so they're scrambling to find a way out. Helix hoping this will be it, but he doesn't have boost to bang it further than Patty on the backboard. Could have been a chance, but instead it's Crispy who will just get bumped off the ball. Akron, the final attack, can they keep this up and take a shot? They will attempt to. Bullseye trying, but Helix to keep it away. They're still keeping this up. This is lunacy at this point, but it'll work out if they can can find a shot. Samos instead to take it to the ground, and we go to overtime, our first of the series.
5 up and Bullseye were both lingering in the middle, but even though Samos caught it on this corner, you're not greedy there. You know you got away with one. So take it down to the ground and play for OT, play for a bump, play for a miscommunication. Helix, he's left alone. This could be a 2v1.
5 up, flick around one, but Helix at least gets a touch in the way. Still awkward on the backboard as Patty will follow up the challenge, but will be beat out by Crispy. Crispy, some boost to work with, but some might even be an exaggeration. Doesn't matter, he's still comfortable with it. We'll take it through the corner, give a chance now to Helix, who, again, doesn't really do much with it. You can see the awkwardness for Concord. They're trying to figure out how on earth to approach these offenses, and they're left with very little answers.
Helix is almost waiting for Crispy to get that flick, and when it didn't immediately come in, he was a bit nervous, but he's not nervous right here. He looks cold stone-faced and trying to make sure his play mirrors that. Unfortunately, it's not really going to work out for Concord. I think both teams understanding that as long as they play a little bit safe on these angles, they can give up the occasional shot, but not something like that. Just a little bit wide down the left side and immediately right back for Helix.
I honestly thought that was going to be a goal. The only problem was that Patty didn't have enough boost to get back to it. Had he had some boost in the tank, that would have been an open net with Helix on 0 boost as well and retreating downfield. They still got to retreat downfield. This one's awkward, but Samos will get back in time and barely flinch at the attempt. Oh, 5 up. You can't flinch here, and he won't. Immediate challenge, and then to the backboard it goes. Helix looking for the double, will not find it. The shot, though, on target and barely deflected. The follow-up is not. Crispy to send his team to series point.
They just have to win this one to force a Game 7.
Again, I don't necessarily want to root for Akron, but I might have to, especially when they start the game off like that. Goodness me. Again, there's many ways that this can go. If they do want to end it here, fine, but not like this.
Yeah, Patty knew Helix was coming forward for that bump. He was winging around from the blind side, stealing that corner boost, so he knew if he didn't jump, he might get demoed. The issue is he has to hit that ball too. Nobody in the middle. That's a freebie. The death timer starting right now at 4:55 for Akron. If they do not pull it together, this series is over.
And unfortunately, it took a lot for them to even get one goal in the last game. It would not be surprising if it's the same here in this one. They do have the time, as you mentioned, but let's see what they can do with it. 5 up off the ceiling, looking for a shot, won't find it. Instead, when we find a 50, out of the corner it goes, and Samos kinda has the read. It's a bit awkward, but Crispy will bail him out with a pass out to the corner. 5 up, he's there and can at least force a 50, and that one goes way downfield. Samos, kind of lucky in the fact that the boost spawns perfectly where he is, so despite having 0 going into this play, he'll have enough to turn it into an air dribble and an extra touchdown field. To the backboard, this one goes, and Bullseye will not miss. However, Crispy, good follow-up, looking for some bumps, finds some awkwardness, Helix the double, leaves it for Crispy, or excuse me, Samos. It doesn't really matter who's shooting it. All of them can bang it on target.
And that's not the easiest of shots, as Helix can ricochet this one. Samos has to get around it, but also jump fast enough to use that flip, get that extra power, and dig that hole a little bit deeper for Akron to try and crawl out of, still within the first minute of Game 6.
Ooh, I barely even recognized that. I thought that like 10 years had passed since we started this game, but instead, it has only been not even 60 seconds. The only good thing for Akron about that is that they do now have the time to respond, but they need to respond twice, and they also need to dodge these bumps. Helix causing problems for Patty downfield, so 5 up will get involved. Another good 50, but Crispy to come away with it, or at least attempt to, and goodness, this one will go all the way to the corner. Helix knows he's both getting headhunted and has to make the save. He will try. Bullseye will try and slice it around. He gets around 2, but the final touch just doesn't have enough mustard.
Those plays honestly need someone directly on top of the ball, kind of like this one. Helix doesn't trust the shot, instead tries to facilitate through the corner. If anything, it's all possession. Into the follow-up shot, back post, 5 up. Excellent confidence and patience, and can he get rewarded? The hook shot, it's geared in, double tap, it's too fast to handle.
I kind of wish he had just called another player into that one. I get the idea, you're the first player downfield, theoretically you should be the one, but unfortunately that's what you're having to contend with. Excellence in defense, even if you think it's going to be perfect, perfect may not even be enough. Brilliant save from Concord to still keep this a scoreless game, and then give themselves another goal. Helix perfectly timed reset, baits out the final defender, and opens the net for Crispy.
Man, what a spiritual gut punch to be able to flawlessly pick out the top corner, and flailing from the backboard, Concord still gets the save. And not only that, but almost immediately down the back end, Helix gets a flip reset to facilitate a wide open finish. Concord Their kickoffs apparently mirroring their confidence. They're sending two, they're sending everybody at these reads because they just trust that they have this planned out better. It's seemingly this offense from Akron, a temporary distraction from Concord dominance.
I'm a little scared because this is looking exactly like our first two games. Concord just coming out with the firepower, shot after shot, offense after offense with just precision, and not only precision, team play. What we said was required for Concord was all three players firing on all cylinders. They are doing that now. Every player has at least a goal, and although we do have half of this game remaining, the safety net they have created is just immense.
It's going to have to come quickly and cleverly as Concord knows the position they're in. They know that Akron has to rush and make decisions like that. Everybody going forward, leaving the goal unattended.
That's gotta hurt. Again, another goal that I'm not gonna say is preventable, but you know the only reason that goal even goes in is because Bullseye, as the third man, says it's now or never. I have to dive. I have to try, and you have to try for another 2 minutes, but it's gonna be a long hill to climb. This is getting worse and worse for Akron. They've had the chances, but this game started off with an immediate goal, and then another, and then another, and then another, and another. 5 goals to the good now are Concord, and if Akron can get one, it will reignite them, but they still have so much left to do.
And the thing is, Concord, you typically do not want to just slap the ball as hard as possible down the field because it gives away possession, but it doesn't really matter because every clear is going to burn off at least 5-6 seconds for Akron to try and get wrangled around and start up another offense. And right now, they're just trying to go for some bumps, some clever plays, some setups that are still not going to be enough up until 5 up slides one down. There's the light potentially at the end of the tunnel.
There's still a chance here. Plenty of time left for Akron, but goals like this are what's required. You need to perfectly slot it to the top right, and I will say, it's exactly what 5 up does. Good pass, good shot, good play will give Akron their first here, but with only a minute 51 to go, they still have 4 more goals just to see a tie.
One every 30 seconds. It's not going to help if the kickoffs are going like this. Helix trying to fake out with the musty, and no one's going to bite from Akron. They knew they had the angle. Concord knows they have the same down the wall up until someone gets dunked. Helix, I don't know if he has an immediate touch on this one. He'll try to stay behind it, but there's the shot. Double commit straight down the middle. Bullseye handing off to Patty. A lot of space to get the bump and lift up and over. Still enough for the clear.
Just a little too high on that play, but it does allow more offense for Akron as Bullseye and 5 up start to get involved. Patty, good challenge, but is there a follow? Not quite, at least not for Akron. Instead, it's for Crispy. However, long ball downfield, open net, and all of a sudden, that's 2 to the good for Akron.
And it's coming from a weird cheat up here from Samas. I think he was playing off that 50, and right as he sees Crispy lose it, he backs up and realizes his mistake. This is where I think the playstyle is truly going to shift from more carefree time wasting to very deliberate attention to what Akron is doing. They're starting to bust out the air dribbles and starting to mix in some variety in bumps. Of course, they can just say ignore all that if they can get one more off of the top corner and out.
I would never say that they needed that as the dagger when you're up 3 goals, but I think in this instance they might, because again, this is just more confidence now being given to an Akron that do not need more. 5 up looking for the bump. He won't find it, but he'll find Bullseye on the rebound, and all of a sudden, what was an absolute miracle a minute ago is looking like reality.
Do not head to the exits yet. We are far from over. 50 seconds, 2 goals. It is possible, particularly with these kickoffs. We have not seen too much success from Akron. What they have cooked up against the double commits from Concord each time.
Pay attention very closely here. It's a double commit from Concord. It's 5 up downfield. That's still open, though. If the shot can go on target, it's just a little bit off, and that needed to be precise. Instead, it is time wasted as we tick down the clock and go into our final 30 seconds.
5 up is actually going to get a pass. He's going to get a double across that, except that Crispy gets the perfect touch and a reset to be able to push that a little bit further. Helix sends it over. Patty with a half flip is going to have to trust on the back post rotation. And a reminder from Concord, they don't need anything else. They just need to burn this clock.
They're doing a good job at exactly that. 15 to play, a chance here to close it. Helix looking for bumps, Patty looking for some sort of relief, and will not find it. That is more than enough time. Concord, you might have let it get a little scary, but it doesn't matter. You get the job done. Concord are your CECC 20 2025 champions.
When we heard about these transfers coming over from Europe, it wasn't just that they're going to be good, they might just be the best. They win CRL Fall, they fall out to the eventual winners St. Clair in spring, and then they defeat them to go onto the grands of the last LAN here for the semester here in Arlington, taking a dub over Akron. An admirable effort from the Zips, but I don't know if anybody was beating Concord this weekend.